The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, and the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, have both received fines from the police for breaking lockdown rules, i.e. they attended one of those gatherings that happened across government during the pandemic. Let's talk to our correspondent at Westminster, David Wallace-Lockhart. Tell us more, David.
Victoria, this story broken in the past few minutes. You're absolutely right to say Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister and the Chancellor, both being issued with fines relating to those events taking place in Downing Street and other government buildings while COVID restrictions were in place. At this point, unclear exactly what events this relates to. We do know the Met Police were looking at 12 events. We know the Prime Minister was linked to 3 of those events, including an event in the Cabinet Office where he was presented with a birthday cake. But at this point, we don't know specifically the details, just that the 2 of them are getting fines. Downing Street had said previously if the Prime Minister was fined, they would reveal that. The Treasury had said they would take the same approach to Rishi Sunak. Of course, we got that update earlier on today from the Met Police that over 50 fixed penalty notices have now been issued. That doesn't necessarily mean 50 individuals have been fined. More than one person could get one. The Met themselves aren't going to be naming names when it comes to fines, and they aren't going to be specific about what events they relate to beyond the 12 that they're looking at. But really, that is huge news that the Prime Minister and the Chancellor have both been fined. We heard from Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, this afternoon. He was saying that he was feeling that there was widespread criminality going on in Downing Street and other government buildings. We heard Sir Ed Davey from the Lib Dems saying that Boris Johnson couldn't be trusted and should stand down. This was before it had been revealed that Boris Johnson himself and his right-hand man, the Chancellor, had been fined. So I really think we can expect the opposition parties to step up a gear in their calls for Boris Johnson to go. And no doubt this really is a political problem for him, that perception that he was breaking the rules, and the Met now believe he was breaking the rules to the point he should be fined at a point where he was legislating for the whole of the country.
Breaking the rules and breaking the law, is that correct?
That's correct. So the fixed penalty notice is a statement from the Met that they believe there was low-level criminality going on there that should be dealt with via a fine rather than going to court or something like that. There is, of course, the possibility to challenge fixed penalty notices. That can lead to quite a protracted process where if your appeal is unsuccessful, it can end up actually more serious than simply paying the fine that you were originally issued with. So I suspect there will be those saying that the best way to go about it is just to simply pay the fine and draw a line under the matter there. There's no criminal record or anything that comes with a fixed penalty notice. So, you know, I'm sure everyone's aware you can get them for things like speeding, but certainly the optics here that the Met Police are saying that Boris Johnson and the Chancellor broke the COVID rules that they themselves were asking the entire country to follow.
So we have a Prime Minister and a Chancellor, the 2 highest offices of state, who've broken the law.
Yeah, and let's remember, you know, when we think about the Chancellor and the recent days he's had, it's been a particularly difficult period with him, with revelations about his personal financial situation and that of his wife. Despite the political optics around that, there was a conclusion that his wife and Rishi Sunak himself hadn't breached any rules, and they were acting perfectly within the rules that their personal circumstances allowed. This is different. This is the Met Police saying they did breach COVID regulations, not just the Chancellor, the Prime Minister too, and I suspect this really will be a big political problem for number 10 and number 11, but one I think those around Boris Johnson and those around the Chancellor will be hopeful they will be able to get through. But yeah, that's looking like a rough patch ahead for the 2 most prominent government politicians in the country.